This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and it is time for Just for the Spell of It with Gary Moss. And I'm glad that whatever technology problems we were having the other day when we tried to record are out of the way. And today you're wearing a blue shirt.
I am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they was.
This is Miami blue. It's the color of the Detroit Lions.
Oh, they're not doing too well this year.
I think they're out of the mix.
Yeah.
And, anyways, I like the color.
Okay, well, I like the color on you too, but I think tomorrow night you should be watching the Cleveland Browns play
Yeah.
and hopefully win.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're doing quite well.
yeah, for the first time in a long time. So,
Yep.
so we're not here to talk sports, really. We're here to
Oh,
talk about words.
that's that's right. We're here to talk about words, and I was looking through some of the things I've created over the years. It's quite amazing to me. Uh, but if you do a little bit every day, a little bit every week, it really mounts up. And I've been doing this for 30 years.
Wow.
And so I've compiled close to 100 booklets. I've compiled what I call a backwards dictionary. It's actually a backwards word list where it's the whole dictionary, but the words are alphabetized from right to left, from the last letter to the first
Sure.
letter. And it gives you a totally different perspective about words. And then I've created word puzzles and things like that. But one of the booklets that I created, maybe 2, 3 years ago, is called What a Difference an A Makes.
Okay.
And what this book has, it's a bunch of different words that when you add an A to an existing word, it creates a whole another word. Like, here's an example. Take the word head, Head.
And then you put an A in front of it.
Now, well, you can add it anywhere you want,
Okay.
but Head plus a second A. What word or words can you make with that combination?
Well, you can make a head, A
That's that's the one
should be in
that's
the front.
very
Yeah.
obvious, but there's one more.
Well, not one that I know.
Well, you probably know it, but you don't think of it as a word. It's AAH. Ah,
Oh, okay.
ed. He odd. She odd. So the, what this does is it forces you to think about words that aren't so common. And um, a lot of times when you're playing Scrabble, you need that unusual, lesser known word
Right.
to fit in places and give you a premium score. Okay.
Okay.
Now, someone might say, well, if I don't know that AAHED is a word, what difference does it make? I'm not going to see it. How would I even know that's a word? Well, there's a tool that we use when we're studying words. And there are several different versions of it's referred to as an anagrammer because it takes a set of letters that you give it and it switches them around to different orders and it identifies the words for you. Now, some of these anagrammers are attached to different dictionaries. There
Okay.
might be one for the Merriam Webster or the Funkin' Wagnalls or the Collins Dictionary in Great Britain. But we want to use something that's dedicated and uses only the words that are in the Scrabble Dictionary.
Right.
Well, there's a free one that I've told people about, and it's called Word List Pro. No spaces, wordlistpro.com.
Okay.
And if you go to the store where you buy your apps, besides selling things, there are a number of apps that are free. And Word List Pro is a free app, and it contains all the words in the Scrabble dictionary. Now, while I'm telling you that, I have to insert another disclaimer. I've been told that the official game of Scrabble, the dictionary created by their word committee, it has been changed as of a few days ago on January 1st.
Okay.
The complete Scrabble dictionary, up until this time, has created a lot of naughty words. Those are obscene words and words that um, are discriminatory.
Okay.
So the N word was in our dictionary up until January 1st.
Interesting.
Well, now the word committee has decided to eliminate many of these discriminatory words from the official Scrabble list. And I don't have the complete list yet, but I probably will be getting it, and I'll post it on our website.
Okay.
But people should know that if they go and get Word List Pro or any other Scrabble anagrammer, that they get the latest one.
I think you changed check your connection because,
I have a little break here in the sound.
oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Is that better? Can you
Uh,
hear me now?
very slight. Yeah, you need a new cable, huh?
Yeah, I keep going through these cables. Let's see. Tell me if it's better or worse.
No difference yet.
Well, it
Oh, there you go.
sounds better to me.
Yep, it's better now.
Okay. So, um, one thing I noticed at club, a lot of times people come into club and they already have a word list. But when they went to the bookstore and they went to the shelf where all the games and dictionaries are, they picked something that said Scrabble on the book, but it might be an old list. It might be the OSPD fourth edition, or it might be a word list that isn't a dictionary, but it claims to be an official Scrabble product.
Okay.
Now, some of those were official Scrabble products, but we know that things change from year to year. So you want to always have the most current. And now let me take a look at some other words that might be helpful to you. Now, take the word back, B-A-C-K.
Okay.
Can you think of any new word if you take the word back and add an A to the mix?
Okay. Oh. Hmm.
It's not a frequently
Yeah.
used word, but I see it every time from time to time. And it's A-B-A-C-K.
See, I thought that was too
I'm
obvious.
I'm taken aback. Yeah, that That
Right.
is one of the more obvious ones.
Right.
Okay. Now let's add an E to some words.
Okay.
Let's take the word bats, BATS,
Okay.
and let's add an E to the mix. And there are 7 different words we might find.
Well, there's beets.
Beats,
Hmm.
BEATS. Yeah.
Right. Um, See, I'm doing the real easy ones. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, no idea as I'm looking at it on my paper.
Beast,
Oh, yeah. I see that now.
Bates,
Hmm.
based,
Wow.
bets, betas,
Interesting.
and I don't know the pronunciation, but TABES is also a word.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't think it's tabs, but it's tabs. I'm not sure how
Okay.
you pronounce it. Now, one one of the things that when you're doing this with your anagrammer and you see that, okay, I don't know what TABES means, don't just notice it and go on to the next combination. Pause, look it up, find out what it means, put it on a flashcard, add it to your vocabulary. Because if you don't know TABES, most of your friends probably don't know it either.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so if you're playing the game and you want to be more proficient at winning, you want to play the unusual words, the lesser known words. And if you want to be really cruel to your friends, you'll put TABES, hit your clock to end your turn, and then slyly say, oops. When I was a new player, I used to do that frequently to try to catch my opponent. Now, that's not ethical.
Okay. I didn't think it was.
No, but well, it's not illegal.
Okay.
So if you want to keep throwing your friends off guard, you do those sort of silly things, or
Absolutely.
you just take the palm of your hand and hit your forehead.
uh, all different ways. Yes.
Yeah. Now, there, for those of you that are newer to playing the game competitively, uh, you should know that there are a list of steps that one takes to complete a turn. And this is where the clock comes in. A lot of the newer players I meet don't want to play with the clock. They don't want to be under pressure. But one of the advantages of playing with the clock is the clock is one of the key factors in determining when your turn is over.
Okay.
Let's say you're let's say you're not using a clock. Okay, I make my turn. I announce my score. When is it that your turn is officially over? If there isn't an official point that you and your opponent agree upon, after you've gone past that point and turned the board so that it's now your opponent's turn, but there's nothing official, to say it's the turn. You could agree that once you turn the board, that's when your game is over, but most people don't go into those kind of things. And after the board is turned, I just made the play TABES, and I turned the board and I switched the tiles around after, uh, it's very unclear. It's unsettling. Um, and all games have rules.
Sure.
And so what the clock does is you put the letters on the board, you count the score, you announce the score for that turn. You don't announce the cumulative score.
Right.
So let's say before the turn started, I had 50 points. I play this word. I see that it is 15 points. So I announce 15.
Right.
I don't have to announce my total is now 65.
Got it.
I then hit the clock. Once I hit the clock, my turn is over. That's the defining moment. Now, if my opponent's going to challenge me, they don't hint that they're going to challenge until I hit the clock. Because if, let's say, I played XYZQ, which is not a word, well, it might be, but it's not a word. And I didn't hit my clock. And then I see, oh, I grabbed for the wrong tile and I put the wrong tile on the board. I can still take those tiles up and put my play down and change those tiles as many times as I want before I hit the clock.
Okay.
But once I hit the clock, my turn is over. And then the opponent can say challenge or not. If they say challenge before I hit my clock, that's just a cue to me that, oh, I haven't hit my clock. I can still change it. So maybe even I play a word that I think I know, and you say challenge, and then I start to question myself. If I haven't hit my clock yet, I can go back and change, take it up, put down a totally new word in a different place.
Wow. Okay.
So um, it sorts things out, keeps things clear, keeps the rules precise. And that's one of the big differences between Club Scrabble and Home Scrabble. A lot of home Scrabblers aren't that finicky, and they just want the fun out of the turn of playing. And it becomes more of a, well, it's definitely more of a competition, but um, that steals the fun away for some people. But those people aren't heavy competitors.
Right.
And I still suggest that if you are one of the people that are playing for fun, you still have a set of rules that guide you. Because without the set of rules, we're not all equal in terms of our competitiveness, but it creates derision.
Yes.
Yeah. So was I pretty clear on what I was
Yeah. And
hearing?
from what I understand, in home Scrabble, like you talked about, not club, I thought in the rules it states that once you place everything on the board and basically pull yourself back from the board, that your
Uh-huh.
play is done.
Okay, that's maybe a home rule, but
Okay.
it's not an official rule, because how do you judge
Pulling
whether
back.
they've pulled themselves back?
Okay.
If someone's doing it very deliberately, where it's obvious, but not everyone's going to do it quite the same way.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. Um, so the last time talking, we were talking about some of the different lists that I have made over the years. And a lot of people, especially club players, make different kinds of lists.
Right.
Some lists are about letters, like the one we just said, add an A, add an E, add an H, add anyone. In fact, go through the alphabet and over the period of 26 days, each day devote it to another letter. Pretend you're watching Sesame Street. You
Oh,
know,
good
today
idea.
is dedicated to the letter C. Okay. And take uh, just a bunch of 3, 4, 5 letter words that are common and that you know, and then add the letter of the day to it and see if you can come up with anything. And then use the tool Wordlist Pro or something equivalent to it. And what happens when you use Wordlist Pro, the um, preference that you're going to use is called anagram. So you type in a set of letters. You don't have to have them in any order, just a variety of letters. And then you hit the button to build on them, and it will unscramble them and it'll give you a list. Sometimes you can set another preference to the number of letters in a word. And you can even, if you want to look at the list in terms of take the word head, Head, and you put a blank with it, it will let the blank be a variable for whatever. And it might give you a long list of words like Head plus an S is shade, or Ades with a um, all of a sudden I'm drawing a blank here, with a Y is Hayed, Hayed, something to do with something to do with working with hay out in a field. So, anyways, that's my suggestion. Another kind of list is you might make a list of all the words that relate to a particular topic. This is a more difficult kind of list to create because an anagrammer doesn't create that kind of a list.
Okay.
The only way you create that list, let's say you wanted to have all the words that related to kinds of transportation. So the way you create that list, you go to page 1, put your finger at the top, you kind of run your finger down the page until you find a word that fits that category, and you go page by page by page through all 170,000 words, and you probably come up with a list of 200, 300. So uh, you might decide to put words like bus and car and wagon and rocket and things like that on there. But it then becomes your determination what you think fits the list and what you think doesn't fit the list. And you might be reviewing words. In fact, you might come up with a new word if you're looking through, as you're scrolling through the pages, you're looking at the definitions. Now, the OWL won't give you definitions, the
The
official word list.
Right.
but the OSPD6 will. And I've made lists that way. Let's say I'm looking for minerals or gemstones, and I find when I get to the S's that there's a word SMARADG, smaragd.
And that's a gem?
It's an emerald.
Wow. Interesting.
And I never knew that before. And then if you look a little closer, the next line down is SMARAGDE. So if you didn't know smaragd without the E and you played it knowing that it takes an E,
Somebody
you'll
can,
fool your opponent twice.
wow.
And I love discovering that sort of thing for myself because who knew that smaragd was an emerald and it ends with GD? And then to know the other fact, well, the way my crazy mind works is I remember stuff like that. And I have an arsenal of words that end strangely. And then I found words that begin strangely. Some people think I'm nuts,
Yeah.
but other people admire me for being able to do that. In the course of play, it's miraculous.
Well, and unless we explore, we're not going to find these words and these
Mhm.
opportunities for um, making the game more challenging and more fun. Um, you know, I
Definitely challenging.
I find when I play words with friends, and if I'm feeling lazy, I'm just playing, the easiest word that I see on my rack. Um, because it
Mhm.
doesn't take any effort. But when I decide that, hey, I really want to come up with something different, I'm looking at my tiles in a different way. Um, and
Mhm.
every once in a while, I'm remembering something that somebody else played. Don't remember where,
Absolutely.
don't remember when, and I put it down, and it's like, wow, where did that one come from?
Allow your opponents to be your teachers. Those things we really have the ability, if we focus on it, we have the ability to remember them at a deeper level. There are many words that I remember because my opponent played it against me.
Got it. Yeah.
The one of the words that falls in that category that I may have mentioned before, uh, there was a guy who was I believe he was a school teacher during his lifetime. His name was Stu Goldman. He was from the San Francisco area. He was known as one of the better players in the nation in Scrabble. He wasn't at the very top, but he was close to it. He was always competing in the expert division. And at one of the tournaments, a lot of tournaments have a pre-tournament called the early bird.
Okay.
And I remember one year I went to Reno, Nevada, and I played in the early bird. And so the pairings are different. They're not as formal. If you're a, a novice or a middle kind of guy, you don't get to play the experts in the regular tournament. But
Okay.
in an early bird, you might be paired with them. And here I was, and I was paired with Stu Goldman. And somewhere midway through the game, he played the word Strigil, striggle.
Huh.
And I thought he had made a mistake. I never heard that word before. It looked ugly. It had two eyes in it, and eyes are hard to get rid of. And I thought, yeah, maybe he's just pulling a fast one on me. And so I challenged him, and I lost the challenge. And he said, oh, he was surprised I challenged. He says, dentists use a striggle all the time. That's the tool that they use to scrape your teeth.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Well, okay. I didn't know the name of that tool, but now I did. And I have played striggle dozens of times since that occurred. And I'm really proud when I find it.
Yeah.
And on a number of occasions, my opponents have challenged me when I've played striggle. And I like saying the word too. You know,
I'm going to striggle you.
a lot of words are fun to say, and you might make a list of words that are fun to say. Another word that someone played on me, and I see what's fun and interesting to me is I remember the people and the time. I had a friend that I made in Michigan. Um, he was a real incredible guy. His name was Frank Lee. When I first met Frank, I think I met him in Lansing, Michigan, in a local tournament. Frank at the time was on crutches. And I went over and sat with him and talked. And turns out he had an interesting story. He had polio as a child, and he recouped from it.
Okay.
And when he turned 40, 41, in that age, it came back
Oh, wow.
and it hit him with a vengeance. And when he was in his 40s and I met him, he was on crutches. And about 10 years later, he was in a wheelchair.
Oh, my.
And he lived until his late 60s. Um, he was a writer. He wrote for a newspaper. He was a very interesting guy. He knew all kinds of words. He was an avid Scrabble player. Despite of his limits, he wasn't limited at all.
Yeah.
And he would show up at every tournament everywhere. Well, I remember he played a word against me, and I bet it was in Lansing. And it started with the letters G, then J.
Wow.
G, G, J, E, T, O, S, T. I say it Jatost. I don't know that that's the correct pronunciation, but it's a French word and it's a brown cheese, a
Huh.
French brown cheese. And
Never heard of
it's the only word I ever heard of that starts with those two letters.
Sure.
And it's not likely that you're going to get those letters on your rack because there's only two G's in the bag and there's only one J. And so to get those, I said two G's. I think there are three G's in the bag, but still, it's an unlikely combination.
Sure.
But I've played it twice,
Wow.
and it's like with 170,000 words in the dictionary, why do I remember that one? Well, it's different enough that I remember it. And not everybody's memory works that way.
Right.
But I went on to create an entire book of words that have, I call strange beginnings. And it's not strange if you know the word, and it's not strange like in South Africa, there are a lot of words that end with N, that begin with NG. One is, and I find them fun to say. The first one is Ngwee, Ngwee, Ngwee. And then another one is Ngultrum, Ngultrum. And there are others as well. And both of those words relate to coinage,
Right.
monetary units. And anyways, that's one of the things that turns me on and why I wasn't the most popular guy in the class.
Well, it's interesting because if you do hear a word or see a word and
Mhm.
it looks that unusual, if you pay attention to it, yes, you probably are going to remember it. It's like, you know, I have a son who remembers all these weird connections, almost like you do with words, but he remembers them in sports, and he'll tell you exactly where he was, when it happened, that he saw this or read it. And I'll look at him and think, like, you remember that you were sitting on your grandmother's couch, at 2 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon when so and so hit a home run. And he'll look at me, he'll go, absolutely. And if you go and you research it, guess what? At least that home run did take place at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And if I, do some more research, I can probably find out that that's where he was sitting. But he
Mhm.
remembers certain facts like that. I
Yeah.
I don't think I'm like that at all. Um,
Mhm.
but when I remember something, you know, I try to put a connection to it. And
Mhm.
I heard somebody use ennui the other day
Yeah.
in a movie, and I started laughing because it was
Mhm.
like I've heard this word before. So yeah,
Mhm. So I encourage everyone out there to make some kind of a list that satisfies you. Your list may be similar or completely different from a list that I would make. But in creating your list, um, try to expand it beyond what you already know by using your dictionary in some way or by using an anagrammer in some way that helps you discover things that you don't know yet, because those are the things that when you do play them, they will probably be lesser known by your opponents and will win you challenges and might give you an opportunity to score premium scores. So that's all out there and available. And I find that a very fun part of the game.
absolutely.
And for others, it may not be as much fun, but it is a good tip to learning how to win more often.
Well, and you also have a number of lists and booklets that you've created over the years that are available for people. All they have to do is go to your website and contact you. Um,
Yeah. And contact me. And if you have a particular interest, ask me if I have any lists or any way to help you secure that information. And I'll freely advise you how to create it yourself. And if it's something you want help with, we'll arrange something where I'll be able to create it or obtain it for you.
Sounds wonderful. Another way people can learn new words too, um, is through your name plaques. And I have to tell you, I got 4 of them from you this holiday, and I gave them to 4 of my clients. And they are just amazed at the words that come from their name. And
Sure.
they just they keep telling me about it, and, I've said, "Well, I already know this. Tell your friends, um, because it is a unique gift. Um, it's not very expensive, but, especially for Scrabble players, I could see
Oh, yeah.
being, something that you really would want to have in your home and learn at least the words that come from your name."
Every once in a while, I forget that I've made one for somebody, and I might be at their home or even in their office. And there is my plaque sitting up there on the wall or on the coffee table. And it's a great conversation piece. One of the ways that I've gifted them to friends of mine who have had children, and I make it in the name of the kid. Uh, and People appreciate that. And what I do is I take all the letters in your name and I usually include your middle name because the bigger the variety of letters,
Sure.
the more interesting the words are. And then I look for the highest scoring words. A simple name like Karen Hale might produce 600 words. And the plaque generally is either 60 or 75 of the highest scoring words made from the letters in your name. So when I have two different individuals, because the letters in their names are different, even if they have the same last name, the words on the list are different.
Absolutely.
And one other thing that's sort of fun is if all of a sudden you discover that some of the words on the list sort of describe the work you do or your personality style, uh, it's quite amazing.
Absolutely.
And so people treasure those commonalities.
Well, again, we want everybody to go to the website, and hopefully we'll have some new blogs here coming soon. Um, I know you've sort of hit a road, a wall.
Yeah, I hit a bump in the road and I'm trying to take my own advice on how to get myself motivated again. But send me a note and motivate me. Send me an email, and I would really appreciate it. I'm really curious who all these people are that check into my website all the time, and only a very few of them have taken the time to send me an email. But I invite you to because I would find it very interesting to see who some of you are.
Absolutely. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. It's beautiful here in Northeast Ohio today. The sky is blue, the sun is out, and it's freezing cold. But we're going to enjoy the rest of the
Okay.
day. Have a good one. Take care now.
Okay. Bye.